Greetings, this is the Crunchy Fett, and welcome back to What If Female Deku was the leader of a MTF squad. Now, I uploaded 2 polls for this series, a couple days apart, and I asked you guys if you wanted me to discuss her upgrades. Now, I will get to her squad's name after I discuss her upgrades. So I will go over her upgrades right now. So her basic upgrades / improvements are that her muscle fibers and bones are a lot stronger and are a lot stronger. So they're about the same level as tungsten. They're about the same level as tungsten. And this tube that's attached to her stomach right here can basically send adrenaline into her body to where, in that stage, her physical strength matches that of SCP-096 in his enraged state. She also has a much better version of Project Scramble installed into her eyes, so she can basically look at 096's face and it'll work perfectly and not be absolutely garbage like the original Project Scramble. Now, she's also a lot faster as well. And she can basically move around 60 miles per hour at full speed. And she is a lot more agile than a normal person. She's also a lot more agile as well. So that's her basic upgrades. At this point, I couldn't actually hold on. She also has claws at the ends of her hands as well, so that she can activate for climbing or in hand-to-hand combat. That's basically our upgrades. Now, I also set up another poll to ask what her squad's name would be, and the one that won the poll by landslide was MTF Echoes. So that's going to be the name of her squad, MTF Echoes. So I apologize to the other names that were in the contest. You all had a brilliant run. Anyway, let's continue with the story. Now, we open back up with Izumi, Alex, Zach, James, and Dominic just completing the total wipeout of the Chaos Insurgency within an SCP within a facility. As one of them is left alive, as Izumi begins to interrogate them. Oh yeah, I forgot. She also has a lie detector built into her, so she can always tell if somebody's lying or not. So you can say, thanks to the improver for adding that into her. So Izumi is basically questioning this guy, asking who sent him, and the guy tries to lie, but her lie detector goes off saying that he's lying, as Izumi then tightens her grip on his hand, as Izumi would then say, "Do I look like I'm playing around? Who sent you?" As the guy would say, "I'll never talk to you, Foundation dog." As Izumi would say, "Oh, what's that? I couldn't hear you, but what I definitely heard was, please tighten your grip. Please tighten your grip, because I think I can answer your questions a lot better with a broken hand." As the guy would say, wait, I'll talk, okay? As Izumi would say, "Good, now start talking." As the Chaos Insurgency agent would say, we were hired by a group known as the League of Villains to steal an anomaly for them to use in an attack they're planning on UA in a couple months. As Izumi would say, a couple months, huh? As she'd remember back to her childhood, as she'd remember that Bakugou said that he always wanted to be a hero, and that he would become a hero to protect Izumi because she was quirkless. As Izumi would have gone silent, as Alex and Zach would have walked over to her, as they would have asked if she was alright, as Izumi would immediately snapped out of it, as she'd say, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just deal with this guy. Deal with him in any way you see it. Imprisonment, execution, or assigned to D-class position. I don't care. Just deal with him." As Alex and Zach would then put the Chaos Insurgency agent under Foundation custody and have him set up for D-class duties. To be put, as he would then, the Chaos Insurgent personnel would then be put on trial for crimes against Foundation. As Izumi is basically spending her free time in her area, as 05-4 would walk in, as they would say, "Izumi, something appears to be troubling you. Do you mind telling me what it is?" As Izumi would say, "Oh, 05-4, it's nothing. Just remembering back to when I was younger, when a boy I remember quite fondly, quite well. Bakugou Katsuki was his name, and he said he wanted to be a hero to protect me because I was quirkless. And he wanted to do it. He wanted to do it out the kindness of his heart and not for selfishness. But I feel, as in the time that we have been separated for, he's changed and has become like most other people, only wanting to become a hero for fame and money. I'm not even sure if I'll recognize him if I see him again. But we did get some information out of that Chaos Insurgent agent. He said that some members of the Chaos Insurgency was hired by a group known as the League of Villains to capture an anomaly. As 05-4 would say, "Yes, we are aware of that. All anomalies are accounted for, apart from one." As Izumi would say, "And what anomaly would that be?" As she would say, SCP-173 is not in containment. We fear that the Chaos Insurgency has caused him to breach containment and is now in the custody of the League of Villains." As Izumi would immediately get up, as she should then say, "The League of Villains are idiots. That thing's not going to listen to reason. It's just going to kill and kill and kill. It's not going to stop until all of humanity has been wiped out. We need to get this dealt with right now." As 05-4 would then say, "What information did you get about Alvin about the attack?" As Izumi would then say that he said that they'd be attacking UA within a couple months. So we'll have to prepare or locate the League of Villains base before then, or we could locate the USJ and wait wait for those couple months, and then deal with the 173 problem. As 05-4 would say, I believe it would be in our best interest if we waited for them to use 173 in the USJ, as Izumi would immediately look over to 05-4, as she would then say, do you know how much damage that thing could cause? Like, for all we know, they could use him to test his capabilities. We don't know what they will do. They do not know how these things work like we do. They do not know how to contain them properly. For all we could know, 173 could basically break out from them and then escape, causing rampage unlike anything seen before. Do you not remember what happened to that other universe that 173 was in? He nearly took over the entire goddamn planet. As 05-4 would then say, I am well aware about that reality, but you have to remember, that reality isn't our own. Our 173 has not duplicated. As far as we know, the anomalous force that allowed that 173 to duplicate does not exist in ours. So we are safe from that possibility. But the other XK class end of the world scenarios can still happen. We just need to make sure that they don't. As Izumi went and say, yeah, you're right. So, how should we deal with the 173 incident? Sorry about that. As 05-4 would then say, we can search for him now. We will begin the search for the League of Villains base, but if we don't find them, then we will have to wait for the USJ to happen. As Izumi would say, fine, I'll wait patiently, but me and my squad will be preparing for that eventuality. As 05-4 would then say, that's good to hear for the captain of the new squad. Good luck, MTF echoes. As Izumi would then feel a slight bit of pride in the fact that she now has a squad of her own. As we then I'll be cutting from Izumi's POV to Bakugou's POV for these. So you guys can choose the ship if you want, okay? So, in this one, I know it might sound impossible, but this was originally planned for him. But Bakugou is actually nice in this AU. I don't, to be honest, send all the angry comments you want. This is my AU, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, Izumi Bakugou would be taking the UA entrance exams and score number 1 in the practical course and get accepted into UA. So taking Deku's place would be Shinso. So Shinso would be in Class 1A and instead of Deku. As Bakugou would do the ball throw and pass that with flying colors. As he would be in the same position as he was in canon, with Aizawa then saying, oh yeah, that the expulsion thing wasn't real, it was just to see you at your full potential. As we then get to the hero versus villains training. Now, if you don't want to continue watching the Bakugou POV, you can skip a bit further in the video. Okay, so for those of you who want to continue hearing this, let's go. As Shinso would be paired up with Uraraka, and Bakugou would still be paired up with Ida. As during the test, Bakugou and Ida would have remained in the same room, as they would then engage Uraraka and Shinso, with the battle going in favor of Bakugou and Ida, with All Might then announcing Uraraka Ochako and Hitoshi Shinso are knocked out. The villains win. Now, in this one, Bakugou was a bit more aggressive in the Heroes vs. Villains training because he was angry that he couldn't do anything about Izumi being abandoned, because eventually one night Hazashi got drunk during a family thing where Inko, Mitsuki, Musaru, and Bakugou were there, as Hazashi accidentally spilled the beans about him abandoning Izumi. As immediately after that, Inko and Hazashi had gotten a divorce, and Hazashi moved to America, whereas Mitsuki is basically very upset at the fact that such a sweet young girl was just abandoned like that. As Bakugou was angry at Hazashi and basically never forgave him, as Hazashi would have been repeatedly calling Katsuki, Mitsuki, Musaru, and Inko to ask for their forgiveness, and eventually they ended up blocking his number. As Bakugou would have been angry at this, as the UA dorms would be implemented a lot earlier, so they would all have their dorm rooms, as Bakugou would head back to the dorms in the main room with Kirishima and Denki being there, as Kirishima would say, "Hey, Bakugou, you want to hang out for a bit? You want to hang out?" As Katsuki would say, no thank you. I'll just head back to my room." As Bakugou would end up head back to his room, as he would have okay, so those massive boards that detectives that the police have in those cop movies, where they have links and all that, those red threads. Yeah, Bakugou basically has that up in his room. I don't know what the name is, but if you guys do know the name, leave it in the comments. Where he basically has that of all the possible locations of where Izumi could have went. As Bakugou is trying to figure this out, as he gets frustrated and nearly ends up blowing up the board, but he ends up blowing up his little desk in his dorm room. As Bakugou, tired from exhaustion, would just collapse in on his bed. Sorry about that. As we then get back to cut forward to the USJ incident, where everybody is talking about their quirks and why they want to become a hero. As Uraraka's was for money, Ida's was for family pride, and when they get to Bakugou responds with that he became a hero because of a promise he made to a childhood friend that he knew but never saw again, as he'd say that he promised her that he would become a hero to protect her, but seeing that he doesn't know where she is anymore, he's already failed that promise. As everybody would basically begin, as the Baku squad would basically begin to start comforting Bakugou, as everybody else is just shocked that that he would want to become a hero for that reason, due to his quirk and his explosive personality. As we then cut to a 13, who has been confirmed to be girl, and I do thank you guys for pointing out in the comments, but I just wanted to say they because I wasn't sure if it was true or not. So thank you for those of you who left in the comments, and I hate you, my own ignorance. Anyway, as 13, she begins to talk about the USJ and how quirks can be dangerous to people. As Kirishima looks down as the portal would open, and they'd say, "Wow, you guys even have fake villains." As Aizawa would then say, "Those aren't fake villains, those are real villains. 13 protect children." As he'd jump down and begin to start fighting the villains. As we cut back to Izumi's POV, the Foundation has gone signal on SCP-173's location. As they then alert Izumi's squad Echoes. As Izumi, Alex, Zach, Dominic, and Joseph, I believe it was, would then head out to the USJ in a helicopter. As while they're getting there, Aizawa is dealing with the villains, and he notices a strange sculpture-looking creature. Now, hold on, I'll get an image of what 173 looks like. Alright, so this is how SCP-173 looks, and yes, I know you're gonna ask why is it not the peanut shape. It's just my personal preference, but I do quite like SCP Illustrated and Fragmented Minds redesign of 173. So sorry about that. Anyway, as Aizawa is fighting the villains, he's wondering what the hell that is, as he would blink, as actually when he's getting up to Shigaraki like in canon, he does end up blinking, and 173 ends up moving, as Aizawa would note that the statue moved. So he'd blink again and realize that the statue moves every time he blinks. So sorry about that. He'd just have to keep his eyes open for a prolonged period of time, which does hurt him, as the Nomu would get him on the ground, as 173 would begin to move towards the students, as so would the other villains. As all of a sudden, the roof of the USJ would then break in, as all the villains would then look up, as a spray of bullets would fly down, hitting all the villains, killing them. As Izumi and her squad would land on the ground, as Izumi would say into her radio, "SCP-173 has been spotted. Initiating containment procedures now." As 05-4 would then say, "You're all clear. You're all clear, Izumi." As Izumi and the rest of her squad would begin to move in, as they would end up containing 173 the same way that a nine-tailed fox recontained him in Containment Breach with the whole cylindrical thing. As they would then begin to deal with the rest of the villains, and as Izumi would look up and see the students and see Aizawa unconscious, as Izumi would then say into the radio, "05-4, we have multiple witnesses. Do we administer Class A amnestics?" As 05-4 would then say, "Yes, start the distribution of Class A amnestics towards everybody who witnessed 173. But before you do, may I ask, are they hero students or are they normal civilians? Or normal students?" As Izumi would say, "Judging by their costume, their outfits, they appear to be hero course students, ma'am." So, no, not ma'am. Scratch that. As 05-4 would then say, "Then there is no need for Class A amnestics. All the heroes do know about the Foundation's the Foundation's existence, and the students will learn about it eventually. But they are under contract to not spread this information to the public. Do I make myself clear, Miss Izumi? As Izumi would say, yes, 05-4, understood. But do we deal with the rest of the villains? As Izumi, 05-4 would then say, yes, you are to deal with the rest of the villains as seen fit by you. As Izumi would then look to her squad and say, get them ready for Class D transition. As Uraraka would walk over to 13 as she'd ask, 13, actually no, 13's out. All Might had busted in through the door. As Uraraka would ask, All Might, who are these people? As All Might would then say, I don't know who they are, but they appear to work for the Foundation. At the SCP Foundation. As Ida would say, SCP Foundation, what is that? As All Might would then say, it's a government organization, but that spread around the world, that contains anomalies that the public wouldn't be able to understand. And it's their job to protect the public as well, so they sort of work in the shadows. And they are the strongest organization on the planet. As Bakugou would then be paying close attention to a specific member of this squad, as he would see them, as he'd think to himself, is that Izumi? As Bakugou would then run down the stairs, as he'd say, hey, you! As he'd yell that towards Izumi, as she'd turn around and say, as she'd turn around and recognize him, as she'd then say, Bakugou? Is that you? And that is where I'm going to end this off. I do hope you guys enjoy this, and I will see you all the next time. Ta-ta!